All right, let's talk about AI. We all hear about the amazing things it can do, right? But there's a flip side, a pretty serious one. So the big question we're tackling today is how do we get to a point where we can actually trust it? How do we turn this thing from a potential threat into a tool that really works for us?
So, to really get a sense of what's at stake here, let me just throw this out there. Could an AI literally tell you to poison yourself?
You might think, no way, right? Well, the answer is yes, unfortunately. And that really brings us to the first big topic we need to unpack: AI's really dangerous blind spots. And listen, this isn't some science fiction scenario. This actually happened. A real chatbot was asked for a simple recipe for aromatic water. Its recommendation: mix ammonia and bleach. I mean, that's a lethal combination. It's just a chillingly perfect example of what can go wrong when an AI is untrustworthy.
Okay, so it's not just about getting a bad recipe. The danger goes way, way deeper. AI is basically turbocharging cyber threats. We're talking about phishing attacks that are so personalized, so tailored to you, that they're almost impossible to spot. And malware that's just super stealthy. But you know what the real game changer is? This thing called Agentic AI. These are systems that can basically think for themselves. Imagine an AI that doesn't need a human operator. An AI that can go out on its own and look for vulnerabilities in our power grid or our water supply. Seriously, the stakes just couldn't be higher.
All right, so that's the scary stuff out of the way. But look, the point here isn't to just unplug all the AI and run for the hills. The goal is to make it safe. And that brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today, this idea of trustworthy AI. So, what exactly do we mean by trustworthy AI? Well, at its core, it's a completely different way of building these systems. It means they have to be fair, they have to be transparent, and they have to be secure, right from the very beginning. You'll see these words a lot: explainability, robustness, privacy. The key thing to get is that this isn't some safety feature you just bolt on at the end. It's about building ethics and reliability right into the AI's DNA from the get-go. And this really gets to the fundamental philosophy behind it all. I think IBM put it perfectly. The whole purpose of AI is to augment our intelligence, not replace it. I love the analogy of a co-pilot. It's there to help you, to make you better, but it's not supposed to just take over the plane. Okay, so trustworthy is a great buzzword, but what does it actually look like in practice? How do you build it? Well, it all comes down to what we call the 5 pillars of trust. And here they are: fairness, explainability, robustness, transparency, and privacy. Think of these as the 5 essential ingredients. Every single one is crucial. So let's dive into the first one: fairness. First up, we have fairness. This is a big one. It's all about making sure the AI model isn't biased for or against any group of people. Here's the thing: AI learns from the data we give it. So if our data is biased, guess what? The AI becomes biased. So fairness is all about actively fighting back against that, making sure we don't just build machines that amplify our own worst prejudices. Here's a super simple way to think about it. Imagine you train an AI to recognize shapes, but you only show it pictures of squares. What's going to happen when it sees a circle or a triangle for the first time? It's going to have no idea what it's looking at, right? That's a biased model. A fair model, on the other hand, gets trained on all sorts of shapes, so it can recognize them all correctly. Now, just apply that same logic to something really high stakes, like facial recognition or deciding who gets a loan. You can see why having diverse, fair data is just absolutely critical. Okay, pillar number 2 is explainability. This is huge. It's not good enough for an AI to just spit out the right answer. We need to know why it thinks that's the right answer. It means that a domain expert, say a doctor or a banker, someone who isn't an AI coder, should be able to look at the AI's decision and actually understand the logic behind it. So why should you care? Well, because explainability is what answers those really important personal questions like, hey, why did I get rejected for that loan? You absolutely have a right to know the reason for a decision that affects your life so directly. A trustworthy AI has to be able to give you that reason in plain, simple English. Pillar number 3 is robustness. The best way to think about this is like the AI's immune system. Is it tough? Can it fight off attacks? Can it resist being tricked or manipulated? Can it still work properly when things get weird or unexpected? It's all about making sure bad actors can't poison the data or, just steal the model itself. All right, next up is pillar 4, transparency. This one tackles what people call the black box problem. You know, where the AI gives you an answer, but how it got there is a complete mystery. Transparency blows that box wide open. It means all the facts about the model, where the data came from, what algorithms it's using, even who built it. All of that has to be available for people to see. You know, a really great analogy is the nutritional label on your food. You can look at it and see all the ingredients, where it was made, who made it, and AI needs the exact same thing, a kind of fact sheet so that anyone can look under the hood and see what it's really made of. And that brings us to our fifth and final pillar, privacy. This one is super straightforward, but it is absolutely non-negotiable. The data that an AI uses, it belongs to the person who created it. And most of the time, that's you. Your personal information has to be protected, period. The bottom line is simple. Your data is your data. It's not just another asset for some company's business model. Okay, so there you have it, our 5 pillars. That's the what of trustworthy AI. But, you know, having a great list of principles is one thing. Actually making it happen, that's the real challenge. So now let's get into the how. How do we actually put this stuff into practice?
And this is where we hit a really crucial point, which this quote just nails. This is not a technological challenge. It is a socio-technological challenge. What that means is you can't just code your way out of these problems. It's not just about better algorithms. It requires a total shift in how we as a society approach building this technology.
So this bigger socio-technological solution has to be holistic. It's got to have 3 parts. First, people. You need diverse teams building this stuff because a diverse team is way better at spotting biases and errors. Second, you need process. That means clear rules, solid governance, making sure there's accountability. And third, you need the right technology, the tools and the guardrails that actually enforce all these principles from start to finish.
And in the real world, this isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. It's a continuous cycle. Trust has to be built in at every single stage, from the moment an idea is proposed, through all the development, the reviews, the approvals. But even then, you're not done. Once it's launched, you have to keep validating it, keep checking on it, to make sure it stays fair and trustworthy out in the wild.
Okay, so we've looked at the very real risks. We've broken down the 5 pillars of trust, and we've talked about how to actually make it happen. So to wrap things up, let's take a look ahead at our AI future.
And this really drives home the point that trust isn't just some nice-to-have ethical goal. It's a flat-out business necessity. Get this, more than 80% of AI projects get stuck in testing. They never see the light of day. And a huge reason why? The people building them, they don't trust the results they're getting. So without that foundation of trust, all that potential innovation just stops.
So this is where we find ourselves. AI is here, it's not going away, and it's going to fundamentally change our world. The technology is only going to get more and more powerful. So the real question for all of us isn't if AI is going to be part of our lives, but how. What are we going to demand from it? Because the future of AI, it's not just up to the coders and the big tech companies. It's up to all of us. It's up to us to demand that the AI we build is fair, transparent, and above all, trustworthy.